Ladies and gentlemen, hiss and foes, welcome to the Culture Casino! Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday Culture Review. Thank you all for being here. We truly appreciate it. I have with me some of my normal guests, including the Mirrorsphere Origin, who's right next to me, along with a new guest, Steve Kenobi. But let's go ahead and follow real quickly through things. Yeah, follow through with just a quick intro, and then we will get started right away with the stuff we're going to talk about today, which there's actually quite a bit that happened in the last week. But Mirrorsphere, go ahead and tell them real quickly about everything going on with you and your channel.
Well, not much is going on right now. I do plan on hopefully this Friday doing my Star Trek live stream. We're going over TNG.
Okay, that's awesome.
I'm still just waiting on a couple people, but as soon as that's done, we'll hit it up. I'll announce it and we'll do it.
Awesome.
Other than that, I am, as I've put out a video talking about when we start working on my studio here pretty soon, where I will pretty much my garage, and I want to turn it into my studio, my office space. So other than that, I am not doing much, just living life.
Good. And Steve, I know that your channel's starting to get a few more subscribers, and of course you released a couple of wonderful top 5 and things to do, not to do, and about the year. Tell everybody about how awesome you are, Steve.
Not very awesome at all, but I do have a tiny YouTube channel that I don't really care about. I just put stuff up on it now and again. But I'm on panels with a lot of really good YouTubers during the week. According to Christy and Chris Knight, Sporking News Podcast, Lorena, and OG Star Wars. So I get around at least.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. So, and the stream you did with Alora the other day, OG Star Wars. That was pretty cool. I liked that one. So,
well, thank you. I was just piggybacking. She's the great one. So go sub to OG Star Wars. She does good Star Wars content. Yeah, and I'm there too.
You're far too humble, Steve. Well, thanks for joining us this morning. This evening or this afternoon. I know where you are. It's a completely other time. But thanks for being here, my friend. I appreciate it. Then we have, of course, the person below me is Wes Moody from the Wes Moody Webcast. Hey, Wes, how's the things going? I know you're super fired up today.
Super fired up. So fired up. Yeah, I've got a bit of a headache. Well, you know how that goes. But yeah, folks, I am Wes Moody, the Wes Moody Webcast. Talk about pop culture, current events, occasional conspiracy theories, occasional car talk, gaming streams, and I vlog about whatever the heck I want to because it is my webcast. We're going to be doing an interview series here, and subject number 1 is CultureCasino. So we're going to, at some point get that done today.
Yeah, sounds great. Hopefully we can clear those cobwebs from your brain so that we can put that together in good fashion, in good order.
I blame Trump.
Me too. Yeah, me too. And AFK Bard, the representing the Whammon card, and the probably a very unique take on a look at the Stranger Things show, amongst other things. Like there's a new reading thing you've been doing, I've seen. So AFK, tell us about stuff going on with you.
Oh, hey, yeah. Not a lot of cool stuff goes on with me in general, but I've got a couple things that I'm trying to keep going on my YouTube channel. So I've been reviewing Stranger Things every other week with Make a Geek. We're on season 3. Yeah. We do 1 episode at a time. We tried to do 2, and it was just too much. But I read Friday and Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so I'll be doing that tonight.
Okay, and what you want to tell everybody what you're reading right now?
Oh, sure, yeah. I'm currently reading Day Shift. It's the second book of 3 of Midnight Texas. It's by Charlene Harris. She's the chica who did, the True Blood stuff. She's got about 4 different series, I think, that she's written in like the last however many years. And this one is a special place in my heart. So yeah, come by if you want to. I'm on the second one, but they're kind of self-containing stories, so you really don't have to read the first one. So there you go.
All right. Well, that's awesome. I can't wait to hear more. I when I'm up at night or getting ready to go to bed, that's one of the things that I don't mind listening to. If Tom and Mead Radio is not on, I've got lots of people that are willing to talk to me at night and put me to sleep, which I appreciate. I'm not saying you put me to sleep. I'm just saying.
Hey, I take that as a compliment. It's better than being greedy.
No, there you go. Well, thank you all for being here. We've got several folks that have joined us in the chat. Hail all of you that have shown up. We appreciate it. But let's go ahead and get started, and then we'll go into acknowledging the chat here shortly. But, there was a lot that happened this week, but probably nothing more important than what's happening to Hollywood, I guess, at this point. We have, of course, the fact that Cineworld, yeah, exactly, Mirasphere, Cineworld, the Cineworld chain owner, the Cineworld, which is the owner of the U.S. Regal Cinemas, et cetera, and Cinemark, I believe, is closing all of their cinemas because of the postponement of the Bond film, No Time to Die. And honestly, it makes perfect sense. They don't have a lot of new content to release, and when your best performing film is the 40th anniversary release of Empire Strikes Back right. At box office, that there are some serious issues with what's happening in with this news. I should say with this news, folks. What do you think? How do you think this fares? Do you think the theaters are going to survive overall, since we likely won't be able to return to most, if not all, of the theaters until 2021? At least not with any new content. You know what? Let's start with bottom up. Let's start with Wes. Wes, where do you think we're going to be with theaters in light of this news?
Well, they're in serious trouble. I would expect to see some bankruptcies, but here's kind of what I'm wondering. So you have a very interesting thing where Hollywood is hurting and the theaters are hurting, and they really kind of coexist. And in the past, a lot of times, for example, with Star Wars, they'll say, well, we get the lion's share of the revenue from, the first 2 weeks or first 3 weeks of ticket sales. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of wondering if now, with both of them being in trouble when these movies come out, if maybe the theaters are going to start pushing back a little bit on that and say, hey guys, you're not getting the lion's share of the revenue. We need to, you need us, we need you. Maybe I would be interested to see what happens with that. So assuming they're still around by the time these movies are allowed to be released.
Yeah, that's a pretty good takeaway. And in light of what's, happened with the deal that Universal cut with AMC not too long ago. I mean, it's one of the things I covered here on this channel. I wonder if that'll have to be renegotiated as well, because they surrendered, a whole week out of the release, actually several weeks out of the original release window, and they are only getting 3 weekends before that can go to VOD. So that changes the way that they operate. That's for sure. But, and of course, all the other chains were probably in a position where they were going to be solicited for that kind of deal, including, Cineworld. Cinemark, Regal, whatever you want to call them. But that's a good point. I wonder what's going to have to happen, because it is a symbiotic relationship, and they do absolutely rely on each other to exist, or at least make these giant projects. In fact, we're going to get to that in just a minute. AFK, where are you at with this? Where do you think we're going to be with these theaters? I mean, it's starting to become borderline catastrophic. What do you think?
I don't know. It's just on a small scale. Because I live between 2 theaters. One is a Regal, and then the other one is a Century. And the Regal, it's like super big, and it sells itself for the big stuff, So I understand not being able or wanting to spend money in a situation where you're not getting it paid back. But the smaller ones, like the Century that's here, they are renting basically theater rooms out to people. And it's a fairly good deal. And I know several people who have taken it up on them. So it's they are finding ways on the smaller scale to keep open. And they're showing movies that, are older, but classics. And everybody loves classics. If there's nothing to see and someone is working up courage to go outside, it's more likely that they'll go to something like that. So, I mean, small scale, I think that you'll still have like the littler theaters that can show stuff like that. But it's kind of like when there's that upsurge of movies coming out again, like which ones will be able to kind of show them. And I feel like in a way, Regal would be better off because they're saving their money. They're closing it down and they're waiting so that they'll be able to launch off better than the ones that are kind of like making it trickle, I guess, if that makes any sense at all.
No, it absolutely does. But do you think that ultimately is going to hurt the? Well, I mean, you're sending all of those employees elsewhere to seek employment at that point. So, do you think? Where do you think that's going to leave them?
I would say honestly, where I live, like I swear I've always lived right next to a movie theater. I don't intend to do that, but they're basically, I would say the retainment for employees on those, it's just like McDonald's. You can replace it super easy because there's kids who want to work at a theater, especially right out of high school. So I think getting it back would be super easy. And I think that there will be, movie studios who want their big movies to go back out because at the end of the day, a normal person, I don't mean normal, but, a normie or whatever, isn't going to try to find a movie through a streaming service. If they see that a movie's out and it's a big brand new movie, they're going to go see it in the theater. So I don't think that will go away, but I definitely feel like there's going to be a push to try to make it not so.
Okay. No, I think you're probably right, Stieg. I know that you're in a different country. Are you guys in the same boat where your theaters are having to make a decision of whether or not to remain open?
Well, they're for the most part closed.
Okay.
But cinemas and Hollywood are in deep trouble. And Wes and Bard made some good points, so I'm not going to repeat those. But another thing that might happen on a smaller degree is when the cinemas do open, right? A lot of people will have gotten accustomed to not go to the cinema, so they'll realize, hey, we don't really need this,
Right.
We don't have to watch the new movies right away and all that. And then you have that trend with classics being shown in the cinemas again. I hope that doesn't go away. I hope that becomes a trend because people want that. People want to be able to, go to a huge cinema and watch, Jaws on the big screen or something like that. So I'm hoping that might be something they do far more often, and it might even gain them quite a bit of money over time. Because when I'm looking at the movies that are coming out that have been postponed and stuff, there's not that much, positive hype about most of them, right?
No.
It's
you're right.
It's the Black Widow movie, looks good and all, but it's like 5 or 6 years too late for Black Widow. She should have had a trilogy by now. And the James Bond movie looks, woke and so we lost half the audience right there. And so even if the cinemas were open, I don't think they would make as much money as they think they would have. I don't know. Maybe I'm dead wrong. Who knows? But I see less hype around movies now than I did 5 years ago, for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I think on all points. In fact, Stieg, I think that's brilliant. I think that that is a trend I want to continue is to see the older films, but I think you're right. I think everything that we've seen in these newer releases that were upcoming, they didn't have a natural hype to them. They just had the advertisement hype that was being brought. And
another thing I've noticed is when these movies are not being released, I see a growing trend of people talking about older movies, right? People are, they're having watch parties for older movies and stuff, and it's like the it's like the last decade of movies never happened. You know,
You were
If only.
Steve, you could not be, yeah, but you could not be more right, Steve. I mean, you're absolutely there. I mean, everybody is returning to more classic entertainment, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Mirrorsphere, where do you fall on this? I mean, I know that that you're a family guy, so I would imagine
Hi.
that would be. Sorry, Tom. Hi, Tom. I know you're here. Well, we were going to get to you after Mirrorsphere, but Tom's here, guys. Say hi to
Hey,
Tom.
Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
hi Tom.
For coming in.
You don't
Anyway,
make your new guest wait to introduce them. Culture, come on.
Oh man. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Bad YouTube. I apologize, YouTube. Tom is here. Tom from Midnight's Edge After Dark. He's a very handsome fellow with a great voice, and
Now you're just kissing up. Ask him a question. Move on.
Oh.
Anyway, Mirrorsphere, where do you come down on this? As a guy who's got a family and you used to have a habit of taking them to the theater, I would imagine you and
Yeah,
your
for the most
family
part.
going out and doing that. Yeah.
Oh, the only problem I have with going to theaters is it's damn expensive with all my kids. Because if I gotta go to the theater and watch a movie, I gotta take all my kids. And my youngest one is 3, almost 4. So they don't like to sit down very much. But yes, the only theater we have 2 theaters in town. One's like a very small. It's got like 1 theater. I have no idea about that one, but the bigger one, I think it's a Regal. I'm pretty sure it is boarded up, closed down. It's been for months. They even took down where they usually have the previews in the movies and the little glass cases. That's gone. The signs have been removed, so I don't think it's going to reopen. Period. And then we have one of those drive-in theaters about 15, 20 minutes away. They just play old stuff. They've been doing quite well. Yeah, they're doing good because they're like, hey, we're gonna do Indiana Jones, we're gonna do Star Wars, we're gonna do whatever. They just pull out old stuff, King Kong or some classic movie or something, and they're gonna get flooded with people. So as far as I know, they're doing great. Other than that, yeah.
I see, and I think that return to the older entertainment's exactly what people are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And people are going to the drive-ins. People are going back to the drive-in theaters.
Yeah.
So we know that there's an appetite for it, right? Now, of course, since Tom joined us and this is his, wheelhouse, Tom, where do you fall on the fact that, Cineworld is basically closing everything in the UK and the US because No Time to Die decided to not be released until next year? That takes out about 50% of the theaters in the U.S. So, where do you think that is, and what do you think the effects are going to be?
I mean, this was I feel like a hasty move on their part. I feel like they're just trying to vie for some kind of, government assistance of some type. But we're at this funny point. I mean, like you just said, and Stieg was kind of pointing back to take us back, 30, 40 years. We got so many new movies a year. They release like 2-3 times as many movies a year as they did then. And like Stieg was saying, in between the bigger movies and other things, they would re-release older films all the time. Like it was, no thing to go see, a brand new movie one week and then go see The Empire Strikes Back the next. It just was a normal thing. But I feel like maybe that's something that's on the way back until movies get back in the regular swing of things. And it may never be in the normal swing of things. They may not be able to afford to do what they were doing. And with this theater closing down, in the front scheme of things, it's a bad thing. But on the other side of things, I feel like it's more of a big show on their part because look, AMC, Regal, all these fucking theaters, they could have opened in a lot of areas and they didn't.
Yeah.
They decided they weren't going to show Bill and Ted. That was their own fucking choice. They could have made some money. They decided not to. In the meantime, though, at the beginning of this, I was like, oh, it's the mom and pop theaters that are going to suffer. Right now, they're the only ones that are open.
Yeah, I know. It's
They're the only
crazy.
ones making, and they had no problems taking Bill and Ted. They're like, bring it on, like,
We'll show all 3 Bill and Teds
And
all in a row.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're lucky enough in some places, they may have done that. Like, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
I can go see Superman right now out in my drive-in.
Yeah.
The 78 Donner film. So like, yeah, it's a different weird time, but we're at this point where everything's on a standstill for about a year. And with Disney pushing everything the way they did, everybody's going to follow suit. We already know Dune's going to move. There's no way that's going to stay up against Wonder Woman. No, Warner Brothers isn't going to pack 2 of their movies back to back like that. Just ain't gonna happen.
It honestly, they can't. I mean, and there's a big by moving, No Time to Die. They actually created a weird situation for Universal because they're distributing that film.
No Time to Die wasn't going to fucking come out when they said it was anyway. They're full of shit. They're using this whole thing as a goddamn cover. Yeah. They're reshooting. I totally believe the report we did.
Absolutely. And I have to tell you that I'm honestly not in any way surprised by the report that you did make. And I'd already heard something similar that I couldn't confirm. And I think you guys did an excellent job. I know that they have to be reshooting. They have to have realized that they stepped in something bad here. I think they know that the audience isn't going to be there for a film that's that woke, right? They're just not.
To a point, yeah. Like, here's the problem we have now is that the woke crowd or whatever, the SJW fanatics in Hollywood, here's the problem is they're all in this bubble. They're all the same people with the money. And I know we've talked about this before, Culture. And yes, they will stand by their quote unquote laurels until they're fucking broke because they don't know any better. And the rules they're implementing with the Oscars and everybody else it's kind of taking on as well, it's just going to elongate this shit more. Because we were on the way there, you're right, between Dark Fate, between Birds of Prey, and some of the other films that have come out in the last few years. I really think that Hollywood was starting to learn their lesson, and then, BLM movement happened, the riots happened, this pandemic, everything pushed all this stuff back. And now with these rules, I don't see an end in sight. Not until these rules are out of the way.
Well, one thing we need to remember is that we are also in a bubble. Because if I ask 10 friends what they think of the new, news about the new woke Bond, right? 8 or 7 of them won't know what I'm talking about. All they know is that there's a new Bond.
You're right to a point, Stieg, but I feel like in the Phantom Menace and in this community, outside, even without counting the Phantom Menace, I think that we have a pretty diverse nature of feelings here. I mean, we can sit here and talk about not liking a film or liking a film and, have a discussion or even a slight argument about it, but you don't see us, going out there and trying to get each other fired.
Oh, no, nothing like that. But I meant that
exactly. Level.
What?
I was agreeing. Sorry. Exactly. Go ahead, AFK.
Okay. I was just going to say, if we're looking at it, on that also the same level of just, every Joe Schmo. I mean, I think that the problem with James Bond, I mean, it's more apparent to the normie, but not really. Like, they don't know what they're seeing, but the fans of James Bond are seeing James Bond not being himself anymore. A lot of other franchises can mix it up and change it a little, but the people who are fans of all of the original James Bond movies and the Pierce Brosnan and so forth, there's this image of James Bond. And when you look at the movie trailers for the last, basically all of Daniel Craig's, if you think about it, it's been less and less and less about spy, gadgets and ridiculous situations with super hot babes and stuff. And it's unrecognizable. So I think they're going to be losing people just because they're not going to notice that it's a James Bond movie when they see the trailer for it. They'll just be like, oh, it's that, or oh, that's that. But it's not like, oh, James Bond movie. Yay.
Well, Bond has had the problem of ever since Craig's been on board, they've been trying to be Jason Bourne anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you have that problem. But no, I think you're right. I think you make a good point there. Like most people, I don't think know what is really wrong with a lot of the entertainment. They just know that there's something wrong with it. And that's just because unlike the woke crowd who constantly think about the color of somebody's skin, what's between their legs and who they want to fuck, we, on the other hand, just notice that's the problem. Everybody else in the general audience just knows there's a problem, but they don't think like that. So they don't see that. And, like it makes total sense what you're saying. Absolutely. I get where you're coming from. And again, yeah, like Bond is not even Bond anymore. That's the other side of it too.
Isn't that the problem though? If fans love Bond because Bond has become an icon, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if they change Bond too much, it's not an icon anymore. He's just someone.
No, and that's a point I've made a lot, Stieg, and that's exactly it. I mean, look at the Donner Superman. Look at how, Superman at that point was 50 years old. They didn't change Superman. Donner knew what to do. He goes, you don't touch Superman. Superman's Americana. Superman's apple pie. You mess with the world around him. Yeah, you have Superman react to the changing world around him, but you don't change Superman. He knew that. And that's the way you handle these things. Bond doesn't need to change. The world can change around him, but you don't need to change Bond. That's the whole point, Stieg. You're right, 100%. Like these things work for a reason. I mean, you can update, you can mess with a little bit, but you don't need to change who Superman is. He fights for truth, justice, and the American way. Sure, you can have Lois laugh about that, but not Superman. And that's kind of what these new movies were with, Man of Steel was he was kind of making a joke out of that whole thing in a way. But anyway, I mean, that's going deep down a rabbit hole, but no, you're 100% right, Stieg. I agree with you there. Like totally.
Yeah. I'm like you said, outside of the music, that came along with that trailer, it could have been any generic, wannabe female empowerment action film, except that you recognize Daniel Craig as James Bond at a certain point. But, you take his face off the screen and you don't know what you're watching. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just weird. We'll see. And I agree with Aluvrian Imakara. The normies will know woke when they leave 00 Lashana. And I wonder what.
Oh yeah, Rob's convinced that she's going to end up being Bond.
Yeah. Oh, why not?
Well, if anything, if they go redo it, they're just going to change it so that she isn't. They'll just be like, 007, I mean 008, like a redub or something. Just because they realize that maybe that would be just one too many things. But that's just my guess.
Well, we heard the reshoots had more to do with there was a viral bit in the movie that I think they're trying to take out. And then, yeah, I mean, I think they're supposed to soften some of the SJW points, but I wouldn't count on it. Because this is supposed to be his last Bond movie. Dollars to Donuts says he dies at the end of this movie.
It's kind of like trying to soften the blow of an enema.
This town needs an enema.
Sorry.
Steven's not even here.
Yeah, he's not here. Coffee, buzz.
All right. Well, look, this article that I found that I had up for a second, and I'll pop back in here. This just happened. So Universal's in this weird place where they're going to have $4 billion franchise films coming out in 2021.
Well, so is everybody else.
Yeah,
you really think Wonder Woman's coming out this December? Really?
No. We all know better, and especially if Cineworld is actually willing to roll the dice even harder. They're down. They have like $8.2 billion in debt. So, I mean, if you're closing down as a theater chain, until 2021, you already know. I mean, they don't even need the tea leaves because the studios have told them we're not going to put a film in a theater for 4 months, right? I mean, that would be my guess. What do you think? I'm right?
I can't believe they put Tenet out there. I was impressed that they even had the balls to do that. And we learned anything from like Bill and Ted and from Trolls and stuff like that in the films that have been released on streaming, unless it's a smaller movie, they're not going to make their money back. They can sit there and pretend and posture all fucking day long, but we know for a fact Mulan didn't make any money.
No, man, that thing tanked hard.
Bill and Ted barely made its money back. It'll do okay, but that's just because Bill and Ted only cost $20 million to make. That's why. You know, like Tenet cost almost $200 million to make. It's not making its money back.
Yeah.
It might make it back eventually in the next few years on video and shit, but it's not going to make it back now.
Right. Yeah. Movie math. The way the movie math works out, it's in the hole pretty good right now. But I mean, look, they're releasing 4 films in 4 consecutive months. Essentially, I mean, well, almost all in the same quarter. And these films were incredibly expensive to make. I don't think they're going to perform, and I don't think that you're going to see. I think Black Widow is going to underperform in a way that we've never seen an MCU film do. Anybody else have a thought on that one?
I think it's going to bomb. I don't know. It might not bomb, but I have no desire to see it. I really don't care. She's dead.
I want to see it. I know. I think it'll do great, actually, because I know a lot of people, like, just out there who are still really big fans of, like, what they remember of the Avengers, because, like, they don't see all of them. But they heard that, there's a Black Widow movie, and they were super excited about it. And I don't know. I would totally go see it, too. But I don't know if it would really have a draw right away, considering everything. I guess we'd have to say, what would it look like at that point in time, health-wise, with the air quotes, the coof, I should call it, at that point, what it would look like. Because, there might be more of, like, more people comfortable at that point to go back.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a pent-up deal with people wanting to go back out to the theaters. I mean, the fact that these older films are still playing well, the fact that Tenet did as well as it did, I think shows that. I mean, people are sick of being cooped up. And I mean, yeah, if you got a family, it's a little more difficult to justify spending $80 to go to the theater. I get that. But if you're, a single or a couple, person going to the movie theater, that's a hell of a lot cheaper than paying $30 at home. Especially once we get to a point if these movies get more expensive. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
Well, do you think Disney Plus might backfire a bit on Disney since they put their movies up on Disney Plus eventually? So for big families, it'll just pay pay to not see it at the cinema and just wait an extra month so you can just watch it at,
well, there was a lot of people that were upset about Mulan because of that, actually, Steve. And you bring up an interesting point. Like, a lot of these services and the way that they're doing this, they're killing their secondary markets.
Yeah, and people now, even if the all the restrictions and stuff are lifted, people have less money to spend because they've suffered from the COVID too. So when people finally get to go back to work and all that, I don't think going to the cinema will be the main priority.
You got a point there, Steve, but at the same time, going to the movies is still a very affordable night out for people compared to a lot of other things like culture. I know you can back me up on that too. As far as like, just going out to a nice dinner and a concert will cost you $300-400 easy. So going to a movie is a very inexpensive night out, extremely inexpensive in America.
I mean, if you just go to a theme park, you'll drop $100 a person just to, walk in the door. So, if you happen to be near one, I mean, and so, going to a theater, Tom, I agree with you. I mean, you spend, $18-20 a person. That's
even cheaper than that in most areas, but yeah.
Well, I mean, with a snack or a drink or whatnot, but yeah, I mean, it's just
true.
Yeah, but no, it's probably one of the cheapest date nights you can get away with, and women still buy into it. So thanks, ladies.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, people are like, oh, it's just such an expensive thing. It's like, but it's not really, because when you stop and think about it, it's one of the few things that just about everybody can do at an affordable price and get a good value of, like you said, for $20. What else can you do right now in America for $20 for 2.5 hours? Not much. So
yeah, next to nothing.
Right.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I mean, we're Roof Korean puts down here. Does anyone think that hasn't been a referendum on the $1 billion movie after TROS and the CV, and Hollywood finger waving, those days are gone and nothing of value was lost. And I agree largely with this point. I don't know.
Yes and no. You see, here's the thing. You have a problem is Hollywood's never going to want to spend less money. They got used to how much they spent, and because the $1 billion is now the new $100 million was 20 years ago.
Right.
And they have they've gotten accustomed to their lifestyle. Let's put it that way. They're not going to want to give it up that easy. And as long as, the normies still continue to go see Star Wars and things like that, yeah, they'll spend less on making movies. And having 4 movies come out in sequential order like that so quickly is nothing new. I mean, every theater basically has 12 big movies a year now. It used to be 4. Now they have like 1 every month. It used to be you'd have one for your, 2 for the summer, 1 for Christmas. And then like they would pick another holiday generally out throughout the year. The studios would kind of, work off of each other that way. But no, it's become even more competitive now. Instead of having, 1 or 2 movies open up on a weekend, we've got 4 or 5 movies opening up. And I think that's going to change for sure. I think you got to point their culture. I think we might see a step back, like Stieg was saying when it first came in. We might see a semi step back to like the 70s, 80s kind of format, where you get a new big movie every season, but then like the rest of the year's filled up with like re-releases and smaller pictures and stuff like that.
Well, it was pretty ridiculous, and I think you guys here on the panel and probably everybody out there will agree. You were seeing Disney competing with themselves. I mean, Disney literally released 41 to 42%, depending upon your math, of all movie properties. In 2019, it was very similar in 2018. They were almost 50% of the market at one point in time. They were also 2/3 of the revenue earned by doing that. So they were literally competing with themselves. I think they're going to stop doing that. I think that you're going to get. But I think you're right, Tom. I think they're going to cut back, but I don't think they're going to abandon that concept. I just think that they're going to run out of money. I mean, if you have your audience and you have nowhere to distribute your product, I mean, you've been handcuffed in a way that you've never been before. So
yes and no, they have a direct market now. That's the thing. Disney Plus isn't enough homes that if they do more mid-level movies instead of trying to drop shit like Mulan on there, they can be successful. But you can't be doing shit like Mulan. They lost so much money on that. It's not even funny.
Oh yeah. That was such a huge loss, and China had zero interest in it.
And they can lie to us all they want about the numbers, but Bill and Ted was #1 on every single chart for 3 weeks, and it only made $35 million.
Yeah, it's just weird. And I look at Mulan as probably the worst thing Disney could have done to themselves. But at the same time, it was the projections were going down even before it came out. I mean, prior to us getting locked down for an extra extended period of time, those numbers were falling anyway. And as the general audience started to learn that, it wasn't a shot for shot remake, and a lot of the elements that they and their children loved were being removed, and it turned into like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Mulan or whatever. I think people wanted to not spend, and then Disney turned around and undercut themselves by saying, okay, well, those of you who have Disney Plus and you're not interested in paying the $30 in December, you can watch this for free.
Yeah, they should have never said that.
A huge mistake. But let me return back to one point that you made, and then everybody else. I do want everybody else to chime in. I feel like.
Well, here's one thing I want to add about Mulan before we move on, real quick.
Yeah.
Just to show how much of a failure it is, you can now buy it on Amazon, iTunes, all these other places. Remember, it was going to be exclusive to Disney Plus. Not anymore.
Nope. No. And nobody's interested. Nobody's interested. But you just said something. The streaming services, actually, I think Stig mentioned it too. The streaming services are taking the legs out from underneath themselves because they've eliminated the secondary purchase. You go to the theater, that's your first purchase. The secondary purchase was always the digital version of it, whether it be on DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, or digital copy. That was a secondary purchase. The third purchase would be on the streaming service because it would go to the streaming service next. So they just hacked off a limb because they've made
actually.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
because they don't have TV anymore. TV used to be a big market for them, Like, you know, for them to sell a movie to television, I highly doubt they make nearly as much money off of television distribution that they used to. And all that money goes like when they sell it to Netflix. If you're not selling it to Netflix, you're not getting that extra money.
All right. Steve, I have a question. How much have streaming services permeated your landscape there where you are? Are you seeing more people with things other than Netflix? I mean, how does it work out?
Not really. People seem to be using Netflix and the like, just the same as they did last year, I guess.
Okay, but they haven't like bought it. Have they picked up another? I mean, do you have? I mean, this will be anecdotal, but have you seen an increase? Have people decided to have multiple streaming services? Have they added on like Disney Plus or, you know, Hulu?
All of my friends have a couple of services anyway, but I've never heard of any of them getting some extras. No, I have spoken to a few friends though that said they've been buying more DVDs and Blu-rays.
DVDs and Blu-ray sales are up.
Yeah,
it's kind of like for me, I call it having a network. So I think they have this issue where the streaming services have this you can use it anywhere sort of situation where anybody you give it to can use it. So like my family and friends have a network. Like I have a Hulu Plus account, so they all use it. My mom has a Netflix, so we all use it. My dad has Disney Plus, we all use it. And so it's like, this is a lot of money they could be making technically, but as long as you know somebody who doesn't care and gives you their password, you have access to all of this. It's not like your friend has cable and you go over to their house and watch it, you know? So
yeah, well, but we did that
go.
as kids. You know, we did that as kids. We went. I know Tom did as well. We went to a friend's house because they had MTV, or vice versa. I mean, I had when MTV launched. You know, I had a neighborhood of people that came that came to our house to watch it because we had the cable, right? And so I just look at the streaming service sharing. And MTV used to play music videos, guys. They used to actually do music.
It used to be good.
Yeah, but it was a while ago. But look at the streaming services as the same way. I mean, we're all sharing this stuff. I mean, Disney actually expects you to share with your family your information to utilize their platform. They make allowances for that.
They're only going to allow that to go so far, though. That's the thing. Is they're already starting to crack down. Like Hulu, I think only allows you like 4 things at a time, and you can't watch it on more than one screen unless you have a specific account. And I think Netflix is getting to be the same way. So they're going to start cracking down on that too. Yeah.
Netflix is you get the 4 screen or the 6 screen or whatever it is. But you're right. I mean, but Vudu, which is a digital streaming service that sells you your films and you just watch them digitally whenever you want. They also, provide the service Ultraviolet used to provide and everything else. But that platform, I mean, it allows for shared accounts. So you can share your entire digital library with other people, and they can have their own essentially account, to do that. Mearsphere, you look like you want to add something. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, also this wonderful thing that's in my area for movies is called Redbox. For $1, I can rent almost brand new videos.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like a month or a week or whatever, and then it goes straight to DVD. It goes right to Redbox. I go rent it for $1 a day, and poof, I watch it.
That's a good point because there's a lot of areas where streaming is not as accessible just because they don't have high speed bandwidth and all that kind of stuff. So like Redboxes and stuff are still pretty big in those areas. There's a lot of areas where I'm from, the same thing. And all I know about over where Stieg's at, they must be doing quite a bit of streaming because that's one of the few places that Paramount Plus is launching when they launch, is in a bunch of Norwegian and German and a bunch of other countries that are must be doing big streaming because it's only like a few quadrants they're hitting right away. So
yeah, and you think about how quickly Disney exceeded their expectations with their digital platform. They expanded because they had no other distribution channels. But I don't see that growing their income or revenue. They're going to have to spend an awful lot of money over a considerable period of time to to recoup those funds. They need every bit of the 61.5 million worldwide subscribers that they have. I know that number is going to go up again, and I know that adding whatever this Star brand platform thing is going in India is going to actually expand as well. So, but that'll never make up for the revenues they get out of a theatrical release of a movie. I mean, and like I said, I mean, I think it was just bad decisions all the way around.
And that's what I've been trying to tell everybody is it doesn't matter how many people have these streaming services. And unless you have some astronomical amount of people, get a movie on digital, they're just never going to make the kind of money they do in theaters. It's just not going to happen. With the one theater closing down, though, all I see happening is some studio now, if they've with them laxing those laws, I can see some studio swooping in and buying them, or Amazon maybe.
Okay, so you know what? I want to address that real quick, and I don't really want to go. I guess we could go into it in depth, but the Supreme Court is agreeing to rehear some of the media purchasing rules, which includes the theaters being owned by the studios. So that is actually.
I think that's a bad thing if they allow it to happen.
I think it would be awful. I think it will be terrible. But the Supreme Court's going to look at it. The thing is if the Supreme Court looks at it and makes a ruling against it, and he says even anything remotely similar to the words antitrust, the Hollywood system's in big trouble at that point.
Well, and that's the reason those laws were put into place. Exactly why those.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but my point is, if they open up their mouths, or any element of that decision includes anything having to do with antitrust, you're going to start to see conglomerates starting to fall. Like when they broke up the Bells, way back in the late '80s, Ma Bell, and all.
In Hollywood's getting to be that bad. There's 3 major studios now. That's it.
Yeah,
that's all we have.
All right.
Yeah, and so I predict. I predict that if that were to happen, that we would be in a position where there would be some antitrust suits that would break up some of these conglomerates, or at least require them to sell off pieces and parts.
How long do you think it'll be before Lionsgate, Sony, and fucking MGM get bought up by somebody?
Oh, I don't know, 2 years or less.
Sony's been talking about trying to sell off their film division for years.
Well, they need to. They're doing a very bad job of it. So,
actually, until Tom Rothman came in, they were like, the weird thing is, as bad as Tom Rothman is, and as bad as Sony's been, they were like a match made in heaven. He was like one of the best things that ever happened to Sony, and vice versa. So,
yeah, but still, I think you're right, Tom. I think somebody's going to end up acquiring 3 or 4 of the other, outliers, and then we'll have almost no. So that's the other thing. Your choices are now limited because you have this tiny little group that is owned by these conglomerates, and they all have the same, hive mind. So we all get this homogenized content that has zero creativity and doesn't hold an audience. I'm no longer interested in films, and that speaks right into what Roof Korean has put here. The last movie I saw in the theater was TLJ. I'm sorry. But on the positive, TLJ led me to find Mahler, and Mahler led me to find you great YouTube creators. So I'm thankful to Disney for that. And you know what? That's very true. That's how we all found each other. Think about how the awful entertainment in this country led us to all get together and do this.
Well, Roof, for me as a Trekker, it started before TLJ. I was still excited for TLJ. I just watched as my heart sank as each episode of Star Trek Discovery got worse and worse and worse.
I hear you.
And look, Mexican Iron Man. I can't wait until the movies reopen. You think the theaters are loud and annoying? Try watching a 2-minute commercial in a room.
Okay, I see there's some confusion about the studios. Okay, the major studios now are Disney, Warner Brothers, and Universal. Sony is technically a major, but they have not really done enough in the last few years that I would consider. They're more of a minor major now. And Lionsgate and MGM are barely a studio anymore. Like Lionsgate, technically, yeah, because they're a Canadian company, they're a little bit bigger. But as far as U.S. impact, they finish dead last like every year. And Paramount is barely hanging on. Like Paramount, I guess you could consider them major, but they're like in the same place Sony is right now in a lot of ways, or worse.
Yeah.
Here's a question though. let's say they release, I don't know, Terminator 2 in cinemas again, right? And it makes more money than their top new movie at the box office. How would the egos of Hollywood deal with that?
They'll just re-release more movies.
They'll take the money and not produce as much. Well, if they're smart, they'll stop producing ridiculous content.
I want to believe that releasing older movies all the time is going to be profitable, but they learned after the Star Wars re-release, when they tried 100 other movies they re-released that didn't do anything besides The Exorcist, that it just wasn't as profitable as they thought. When you're competing with big new movies all the time, that's the difference. If you don't have the big new movies to compete with, that's a different story.
But if you have, let's say, if you have a 4K re-release, something's been remastered to 4K, like let's say Close Encounters of the Third Kind, right? So that you re-release that into theaters, you don't think they're going to pack the house? I mean, they just did it with Empire Strikes Back, the 40th.
No, I know they won't, because they tried re-releasing Close Encounters like 3 years ago and it didn't do shit.
Really? Was it?
Yeah.
Been remastered? Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Okay. First of all 4K is a digital is a digital format.
Right.
Film is more than 4K already, unless your theater is
absolutely.
digital only, in which most of them are, and they're only capable of showing 2K. Guess what? You're not seeing it as good as it should be anyway. That's the thing. Like 35 millimeter film is way better than 4K anyway. That's why I used to love going to the theater. When they switched it to digital, it started to suck, in my opinion. I'll take the scratches and the pops any day over the other crap.
Yeah. And the cigarette marks to splice the films together. Absolutely.
But no, I mean, I get what you're saying, like as far as like a ground up remaster. Oh yeah, they've done that with all these movies in the last few years, and until this pandemic, none of them have made any money. At least not to the point where it's worth bragging about.
I think the last movie I saw was Lion King.
I was gonna say like probably when some of the Disney releases have done something. I think Jurassic Park did okay, but outside of when they re-released the Star Wars films, they tried for years to re-release movies, and none of them made any money but Exorcist. When they redid The Exorcist, that was the only one that did anything.
Well, the re-release
E.T. was a failure. Remember Spielberg did a couple of them.
Yeah, it didn't. That didn't age well. But here's the weird thing: Disney re-releases like Pinocchio on the big screen or Fantasia or whatever, and it does good numbers. It's just, I mean, I guess it just speaks to the content
Wizard
of the audio.
Oz, I think, did okay in its last re-releases too, but that's the difference. Those are evergreen movies like Disney, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. So people are sick of the endless woke remakes. We are. And sequels that they're now watching films of the 50s and 90s. That's 100% true. I mean, think about it. One of the most popular streams that Tom and Stieg and I are all on is on Christie's channel. We talk about the movies we love from decades ago. Right now we're in the 90s. We just did a great one on 96 yesterday. And while there weren't as many movies in 96, because this speaks to what Tom was saying a little earlier, while there wasn't as many movies that were released that year that were good, right? We still had difficulty in selecting 10, and we had each picked like enough different that we weren't agreeing on everything. But on the years when they were awesome, just a sheer huge volume of awesome movies, we have a hard time picking the list. They more intersect because, the cream does rise to the top. At least I think so. Maybe that's a different perspective, but
no, I think you're right. And that's where cult, classics come from. But no, we went from where we used to have maybe, 200 movies, if that, a year, to 300, 400, 500 in some years we've had here of major movies. It's insane.
Yeah. Yes, we do. The new Viacom, the Paramount
Viacom B mount, CB via CB mount, via mount.
It's gonna be weird.
Plus.
I saw something funny earlier when you brought up that article.
Yeah.
The
Bond thing.
F9. Is that Fast and Furious 9?
Mm-hmm.
They have 9 movies.
Yeah,
I know, it's ridiculous, right?
I think the last one I saw was like the Asia one when they were like in Japan or something like that.
That was the second one.
Yeah. F9 is coming out. Black Widow, Jungle Cruise, Maverick, Eternals. Eternals is going to be hot.
Wait, isn't there like a spin-off or two though of like Fast and Furious? So wouldn't that be like the 10th or 11th movie?
There is.
Yeah.
There was Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
You know what? Those movies are awful, but I will go see those movies every time.
Popcorn movies. Those are popcorn.
I'm not
movies,
a fan,
man.
but they serve their purpose, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
Tokyo Drift. Yeah, that's the last one I saw.
Well, wow, and that was awful. Yeah,
that was bad.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. From Fast Five on, they kind of got a formula together. And the guy that was the creator slash the producer of that also was the creator and producer of the Las Vegas show that was on TV. Like, in fact, the TV show made it possible for him to expand that universe for the Fast and Furious. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we can talk about this all you want, but right now, I think the biggest story, going in is that the press, which is now owned by one company, Penske now owns pretty much all of the trade mags now. So Dateline, Variety, Hollywood Reporter, they're all owned by one place. So you're gonna get, again, more homogenized stories that, are essentially the same thing all the way around. And that's not good for us in any way, but at least I don't think so. Tom, do you think it's a good idea that we only have one source of Hollywood press now? Oh, I think we lost Tom for a second. Yeah. All right. So anyway, let's move on. We'll get to
just an aside here and a joke. I'm waiting for the trade magazines to tell us how Rick Moranis microaggressed and how he's gone to critical race theory re-education after intimidating
Sorry
that.
About that. I was letting Sadie out.
That 6'3" person of color, when he was walking down the street. By
guarantee you that guy, when he gets caught, he's going to say, "Oh, that man called me the N-word."
Yeah, Rick Moranis.
How much you want to fucking bet he's going to expect America to believe that shit?
I'm not believing it.
Suddenly, Seymour's a racist, folks.
No.
Bull.
Nicest man in the world. So, in fact, here it is. This is the incident, guys. So this, and here's the thing. He's okay. So Rick Moranis is there on the right, and everybody's seen this. And I even showed this, I think in the pre-flight, which I knew for a fact the guys were going to cover on FNT. And this is disgusting. What we watch, what we see here. Boom. He was just walking. The guy walked up to him, smashed him in the face. And they have some really good pictures of him getting off that in the subway. So we'll watch it one more time. There it is. Boom. He wouldn't have had time to offend the guy or say anything. I don't know. Does anybody else find that just disgusting?
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine a reason to hit anybody. Just hit somebody that's just walking down the street. I mean.
What's makes me sad about a lot of these videos is there's other people around and they just stand there like, I'm like, if I was standing, some dude hit another dude, I'll be hitting him or at least bring him down so that when the police get there, they can arrest the guy. But no, I did see one that was pretty funny.
I hope they catch him. Yeah, go ahead.
A dude break this dude's truck, like the back window of this guy's truck. He got out with like some kind of, I don't know what it was. The guy was like getting on his bike. He runs up, smashes him in the back of the head. I was like, well, you broke out his window.
Out of all the people to punch, though, he picks a 67-year-old, 5'5".
Yeah.
One of the nicest guys ever, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
You're a tough guy. You're a tough guy.
It's really pathetic.
Surprise punch a dude in the face.
Well, it's kind of annoying to me because I know everything kind of gets politicalized nowadays. But I did see a tweet that I totally agreed with because the second this news comes out, there's someone on one side, saying, "Oh, well, this is that," and then someone on the other side, "Oh, well, this happened because of that." But honestly, at the end of the day, Rick Moranis got attacked for no reason when he was walking down the sidewalk. And the perp's out there, and it's effed up, and he needs justice. And then you can deal with the context of it later. But I mean, At the end of the day, it's just no one punches him in the face, man.
Well, in what was really weird was that I saw a check mark on Twitter, because you mentioned Twitter. I saw a check mark on Twitter. I didn't save it. Sometimes I'm just so disgusted by humanity. I don't cache things or archive them or anything. But one of the check marks on Twitter was like, and just so we know, you all understand, we need to get word out there that any cop that's apprehending this guy, just because it was Rick Moranis doesn't mean you get to shoot and kill him. I was like,
What?
all right.
I'm gonna go one farther. If when they do find this guy, if he is not charged with a fucking hate crime, I'm gonna mostly peaceful protest. I'm not kidding.
Mostly peaceful protest.
97% peaceful protest.
Maybe if they're lucky. No, and I'm not kidding. If they don't, I say we all act like they do. Fuck it. Why not? That's bullshit. Somebody please tell me how this wasn't a hate crime. Please tell me, anybody, how this motherfucking guy knew that was Rick Moranis. And secondly, how he had any reason to hit him other than he was a fucking feeble little white dude.
Yeah, you knew you could get away with it. You knew you couldn't fight back. That was all
Exactly. And that's the whole point. It's a fucking hate crime. If they're going to fucking push it on everybody else, it's time to fucking start making the glove fit. And like I just said, if they don't charge him with a fucking hate crime, I say it's time for all of us to start standing up. It's been enough. It's been enough. I'll start protesting myself. Fuck them fuckers. I'm done with this shit. You think you can just walk up and fucking hit somebody like that? Fuck no.
No, and you're reflecting the opinions of a lot of America right now, Tom. Even the folks that sit within whatever the silent majority happens to be, whether or not you think that's an actual.
Well, we need
thing.
to quit being the silent majority. That's my point.
Here we are.
I agree. Oh, did we just enter the politics zone?
It's okay.
It's not about politics anymore. It's about human fucking decency.
Yes,
I agree.
That's true. At the end of the day, left or right, whatever you have under your pants or whatever, you're a human being, and you just don't do that stuff.
Yeah.
If you expect respect, if you expect people to quit treating you like a stereotype, quit acting like that fucking stereotype.
Amen.
Yeah. And look, it's the only. This is a good point by Bill. The only media in the UK to show the video and the still shot was the Daily Mail. All the others didn't. Because it flies in the face of their narrative. And that's all we get. We no longer get information that's clean. We don't get facts. We get a worldview, a narrative, whatever you want to use. But it's hard. And that's why we look to each other to research and inform. It's why I watch Wes. It's why I follow the entertainment stuff on Tom's channels, and Andre and Rob and Mecca. I follow these people for a reason, and if I wanted some escape, I go to Steeg's channel and laugh. And if I want, to find out what's going on, or how, Next Generation is a better show than what we've got, I can go over to Mirrorsphere and he's doing reviews on it. And then, we can talk about some of the things that are somewhat good still, and we can talk about Stranger Things over on AFK's channel. But that's what everybody is here. That's why we're all here, after all, I think. I look, I don't want things to come down to the immutables, whatever complexion you have. I don't want it to come down to the gender that you are. I don't want it to come down to, the political side of things that Tom talked about earlier. It's just we've moved as a society in this country. We had moved so far past all of those things that divided us. I do not understand how we got back in the same position inside of a year.
Well, what's funny is, I was just gonna say, if he would have hit somebody who actually was on their side, one of their fucking elites, I would have loved to have seen this situation play out. Because they're lucky it wasn't, because Rick is not a Hollywood guy. He's just making his comeback. He's been, for those who don't know, his wife passed away. He's been raising his kids for the last 20 years, all by himself. Never been accused of jack shit. I've never heard a bad fucking word about the guy.
No.
Yeah, me neither.
Well,
or does
you
it do
know,
good things?
Well, that doesn't really matter
So-
at the end of the day.
so I'm
It's just that he was white, or victimized.
That's the point. Is he was hit because he was white, and that's where I'm saying if this guy's not charged with a hate crime, then something's fucking wrong.
So if
Well,
Kevin Hart
look-
was walking on the opposite side where Rick Moranis was, yeah, he probably would not have gotten hit by that guy. I'm thinking.
Absolutely, and you know damn well if put it the other way around, some big fucking white dude turns around and hits Kevin Hart.
Oh,
goddamn
I was just gonna say,
goddamn
just
right.
reverse the race on there.
I'll be all
Well,
over the place.
looking at this
They'll be
from
like, oh my
the-
god, racist attack.
Looking at this from the outside, though, from across the pond, it seems to me that one side gets to do all the punches at once, while the other side, while being angry at it on Twitter, still tends to bend over, spread cheeks for deeper ramming.
Why do you think I'm getting pissed, Stieg?
Yeah, but it's so one-sided now. It's insane. And
It is getting one-sided, and well, it's not so much one-sided as you're right. It's the one side is doing all these bad stuff, and the other side's like, well, what are we supposed to do? No,
Yeah.
it's like y'all do your fucking jobs. That's what you're supposed to goddamn do.
Yeah.
We got cops
back
won't
when
do
I
shit.
grew up,
and-
back when I grew up, you were taught to stand up to police.
Now
You
the
know?
bullies are, 'cause they think they're not. That's the thing.
Yeah, but nobody's
Well-
doing a damn thing about it. I mean,
Tell me about it.
if someone starts punching you, like I punch back. I'm not saying Rick Moranis should, but it's I see a lot of punching, and it's only going one way. It's been going only one way for a
Yes.
couple of years.
That has been the narrative where they say basically, "Oh, we're so angry, we're striking back." But if someone tries to defend themselves, then they're the bad person, And it's just like, wait a minute. Like, they're one of the idiot people who don't go around a giant line of people protesting. I'm sorry, you gotta have a brain on that one. But the people who do and get pulled out of their cars and beat the crap out of them, they would get in trouble if they try to defend themselves in those situations. And
No,
it's really unfair. It's only one-sided.
They're getting in trouble if they try to drive away as well.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, you get stuck in a position you can't get out of, where the one side is allowed to basically do and say anything they want because they've been disenfranchised and they're victims, and you can't say or do anything because you don't have the right, because you're the oppressor. And it's like, that's not a fair way to look at it, because you're basically just null and voiding an entire side of this coin, and you can't do that because it's like you're trying to pretend it doesn't exist.
That's what happens in the media and Hollywood, and everybody's all bought up on the same side, instead of being trying to equal.
That goes right back to what Culture was saying, is like all the media is now owned by one conglomerate. All the major movie studios are owned by the same 2 or 3 conglomerates. You have all of your places where you buy all your food. All your goods are owned by the same few conglomerates. It's everything that we've tried to avoid for the last 100 years in this country.
Yep. Yeah. We have very strict laws that have been being set aside by interested parties through their government intermediaries that prevent trusts, cadres, from forming. And right now we need to enforce the antitrust laws that exist on the books. We need to, not only that, we need to strengthen them, because there's a digital field that didn't exist prior, so we need to revisit and strengthen. We absolutely do. Look, if we enforced all of the laws that were on the books, there wouldn't be any need for any other laws, guys. We've already that's the problem with the legislative branch of the government. They're wasting everybody's time writing new laws that basically outline the same things that existed in the old ones. But anyway, that's as far into politics as I ever want to get on this show. I do want to say this. You're starting to see people speaking out against this finally. It's a shame that it's taking all of these different violent incidents to happen to other people. And it's a little bit disgusting, but I wanted to finish the show with something kind of funny. I know Tom has to leave shortly, and I want to thank Stieg for staying up late or whatever, for being here, because Stieg is awesome, and I appreciate him taking time to be with us today.
They must think he's a vampire over there.
It's only 9 o'clock.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. I was worried it was terribly late. This time zone math. Please don't make me do that. I'm sometimes I'm smart, but when it comes to time zones, it's hard. Time zones are hard.
I've got to work with Make a Geek, and he's over there, and I'm always getting it wrong. I'm like, what time is it over there? And he's like, 10 o'clock. I'm like, well, it's 2 over here. God damn it, I don't know.
Yeah, it's really too hard to, it's way too hard to figure out. But anyway, I thought this would be kind of fun to take a look at, because this is funny and it kind of encapsulates everything that we were just talking about, and it'll give us something to laugh at. I'm sharing the audio. You might need to turn it up, guys out there in the audience, because it's not super loud. It's not my fault. It's just however it was presented. So, and this is actually funny. It's a stripped clip from TikTok. So, but here we go. So.
Here's Saddleback College. Let's face it, our mascot, the Gaucho, is racist, and it's time for him to be murdered. Anyway, I have just the idea for a new progressive mascot for your school. Her name is Titty Pussy, and she's a woke, sloppy goblin girl who rides around the campus on sweat-stained roller skates and begs each student to come out as bi. If a student refuses to do so, Titty Pussy will let out a shriek that has the frequency to change the student's body hair to strawberry blonde. Then Titty Pussy will say, "Tough break, Straighty. Have fun sticking out like a sore thumb should you ever visit a beach in Palestine." At sporting events, instead of displaying kiss cams on the Jumbotron, Titty Pussy will instead screen promos for her OnlyFans, which mainly consists of her getting off to the school flag. During halftime, Titty Pussy will do her signature dance move, the pop lock and swap it, where she'll make the team swap mouth guards to reassure the fans that none of the players are homophobic. If either team refuses, she'll take a knee for the rest of the game, right in the middle of the.
Anyway, that's where it ends. It got cut off, but they just invaded a Zoom call with these administrators who were discussing changing the mascot.
Oh God, that's brilliant.
Pardon my English, but what the shit?
I mean,
it shows their true bigotry too. Because if they were so fucking woke, they shouldn't have a problem with this character. That guy's proven a point.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. I thought that would be fun for everybody to watch. If you hadn't seen it before, that's so great. Yeah, I know. He's like, we need to murder our mascot. I was like, okay, that's a good start. But anyway, so that kid just invaded the college's Zoom meeting where these administrators were talking about this as part of their agenda anyway. So, and the one lady, the obvious wackaloon SJW lady, is like, get him off. It was really funny. Anyway, so you can find that out there in the world. It does exist. So, it's out there on Twitter. Maybe if I can find it again, I'll retweet it. So, but, I'm going to avoid Twitter other than the DMs for the rest of the day for the most part, because I need a timeout from crazy.
Yeah, you can only lose so many brain cells, right?
I can. And I want to say a special thanks again to Tom and Steve for being our special guests on the panel today. Wes, I want to say an extra special thank you to you for hanging out, because I know you have a bad headache. I cannot wait to do our interview later today. Just, get in touch with me. We'll get that done. AFK, I'm looking forward to, more readings and more reviews by you and Ian. In fact, I can't wait to get him back on this show. And of course, I can only flatter Stieg so much. He's pretty awesome. And you should subscribe to Stieg if you're not already, guys, because those top 5 lists and other things that he has on his channel are great. If you want to smile, a chuckle, especially in light of the things that have been happening this year, Stieg's videos are the thing to do that for you, and they're all short. They're not super lengthy. So, but brevity is important in wit. But and then of course, Marasphere's Origin, the creator of content, cannot wait to see this book that's going to come out someday. And that's pretty much it, guys. So anybody else have some final words on the way out the door?
In the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other.
And
sniff glue.
Toxic masculinity is a good thing.
Don't let the door hit you where God split you.
Okay, well, that was awesome. Anyway, I'm going to leave you guys with a closing video with some channels that we all support. And until next time, take care of yourself, take care of others.
Have fun.
Have a great day, and bye-bye.